The man had just slung his backpack over his shoulder when a button that had always been secure suddenly snapped off. As he bent down to pick it up, he suddenly heard the sound of crying coming from the shore. The voice was very familiar to him. He looked in the direction of the sound and saw a girl standing on the shore, calling out his name desperately and begging him to come back. And that girl was the very person he had been waiting for all these 20+ years. But the ship had already left 15 minutes ago. If he missed this chance, they might never see each other again. When he was 6 years old, John had promised to marry her when he grew up, but the girl didn't like him back then. She said she didn't belong in a place like this. It was only later that he learned Anna had moved here after her mother remarried, but he didn't care at all. He insisted on staying by her side every day. Even when his parents scolded him, he didn't back down. Whenever he saw her being bullied or going hungry, his heart ached, and he would bring Anna an extra fish. Soon after, Anna's mother passed away, leaving behind her young brother and sister, and a stepfather who drank himself into a stupor every day. Because of this, he worked even harder to help her. Not only did he help her with farm work, but also went to the market to sell vegetables for her, just so she could have more time to study. But Anna turned a blind eye to his sacrifices. Her mind was set on leaving this place, because her mother had told her on her deathbed that she must go out into the world and see it. Her stepfather had promised that as long as she raised her younger brother and sister and sold all the vegetables grown in the fields, he would save money to send her to college. However, a year passed, and it wasn't until her stepfather married a new wife that she realized she had been deceived. Her stepfather had never intended to pay for her college education. This left her feeling utterly hopeless. In the end, she turned to her uncle for help, but her uncle and grandmother only wanted her to start working and earning money immediately. To make matters worse, she had to hand over her entire paycheck, losing her last shred of hope. She decided to elope with John and leave her hometown. On their first night in Busan, their luggage was stolen by a dishonest shopkeeper, who then falsely accused them of theft. The two were taken to the police station, where John's mother seized the opportunity to bring them back. Because of this incident, she was expelled from school, completely losing her chance at an education. Even factories refused to hire her. No one wanted to hire a high school dropout like her. That day, John's grandmother discussed the matter with his stepfather. They planned to marry her off to a wealthy middle-aged man. This would make John give up on her and rid them of the burden that was Anna. The man was a divorced father with a child. He promised to pay for Anna's college education and take her to Seoul. Anna's heart skipped a beat. This might be her only chance to escape her fate. When John found out, he threw caution to the wind and proposed to her with the family heirloom ring. But she refused, and even threw the ring into a field of rapeseed flowers. She felt that John would only keep her trapped here, forcing her to repeat her mother's tragic life. In her eyes, John was the obstacle preventing her from leaving. These words pierced John's heart deeply. The girl he had waited for over 20 years was ultimately destined to marry someone else. The elders seized the opportunity to separate the two. John boarded a steamship bound for Busan. At that moment, Anna was still in the shop, preparing the attire needed for the wedding. But she recalled the events of the previous night and began to doubt whether she really wanted to give up on John, who had waited for her for over 20 years. Soon after, her fiancé revealed his true motive for marrying her. It turned out he was willing to marry her, only to get a free, long-term nanny. These words brought her back to her senses. Glancing at the clock, she dashed out of